In the great hall of the Justice League, there are assembled the world's 4 greatest heroes, created from the cosmic legends of the universe. Their mission, to fight injustice, to right that which is wrong, and to serve all mankind.
Hello, everybody. Welcome once again to Spinner Rack. We're here with the crew. They're driving me nuts as always. You know, today we're going to be talking about comics versus manga. Which one is the better form? Is there a difference?
Man. Woo.
Or should we continue the way we are? I'm personally a comic book guy, but from what I'm seeing here, we have a guy who's once again D-Man. He's a little on the crazy side. He's into manga. Pete Money, I think he's going to land on my side, and of course, Cat is going to hook it up too.
As I keep looking at the monitor, I keep looking at it as he's speaking.
Stick with the
I'm sorry, man. Your hat is killing me here, man. It's killing me.
Okay,
go ahead, man. Yo, go ahead.
So I'm going to start it off here because, you know, this is a serious topic that a lot of us have to go through all the time. One of my biggest problems with manga, huge problem with manga.
No, you can't have a problem with manga, man.
Already? He didn't
Even think what I'm saying.
Okay, let me hear what this problem is. That's not in English? I agree with you. It's not in English when it's first produced. Me and you on the same page.
I don't like the exaggeration of the characters, the comic qualities. I want a story like they have in the comic books.
What?
A story that's consistently straight. I want to see big-eyed creatures or big-eyed individuals or people who have superhuman strength that go on forever and ever and ever worldwide. Manga.
Never heard of Superman?
Superman,
Super strength doesn't go on forever and ever.
No,
and of course, the people who are drawn in comic books look normal.
Also, I like
they look normal.
I like the whole team effort that you have
with 12-inch
waists.
waists,
You know what I'm trying to say?
48 chests, right? 30 inch back. Oh, but manga is not an exaggeration.
Manga is an extreme exaggeration.
And comic books is not. Comic books is not.
We have one exaggeration that's here to here.
You understand? There's no ugly people in comic books. None. There's no ugly people in comic books.
Yeah, of course. They're all the mutants.
No. They're called bad guys. Everybody else who's a superhero is pristine.
No.
Idyllic.
The Beast, Nightcrawler. Those are not pristine, idyllic. You know what I'm trying to say?
Because they're promoted as being mutants. They're promoted as being mutants.
Thing is not a mutant.
Thing is a mutant.
No, he isn't.
No, I know he's not a mutant. But he's a mutant in my eyes that he's deformed.
Hulk wasn't considered beautiful. You know
yeah, but he's a monster.
But the point, you said
that's Marvel.
All the heroes are beautiful.
Yeah. All right, let's look. Run off DC one. Run off DC comics superheroes. Because you know Marvel started with the monsters and the throwaway characters. That's why they look that way. But let's deal with DC being the number one, being first.
First what? They're not in sales.
What are you talking about? First superheroes?
Oh, I think you're talking about
sales. First superheroes.
No, not first superheroes.
Superman?
Shazam?
Ugly?
Shazam?
Wonder Woman? Flash? Aquaman? All of these are beautiful people.
Darkseid.
Batman. Even Batman. He is at the night, but when he takes off his hat, brilliant Bruce Wayne, handsome Bruce Wayne. All of these are. And what happened?
You're talking about like Golden Age, Silver
Golden
Age.
Age, that's how he is now.
We're talking about now.
That's how he is now. How does Bruce Wayne look now? Isn't he supposed to be handsome? But anyway, getting back to this Marvel manga versus comic books.
What's the Marvel? Just manga
versus comic books, yes.
Okay. You know what I'm trying to say?
That's the thing. They look exaggerated. Okay, my problem with comic books is that they are too exaggerated, where they don't cover realistic type people. Where manga will do teens and draw teens like teenagers. Where in hold on a second.
Exaggerate teenage girls and
but they look like girls. They look like teenagers.
All the time, doing all kinds of stuff. Come on.
Skinny, right?
But wait a second.
But in comic books, the teenagers there who are superheroes are what? Muscular. They're athletic. There's no regular.
You're talking about the Kirby teenagers.
No, I'm talking about the regular. Have you seen Robin? You see what Robin looks like?
Which one? I haven't seen him.
Okay.
You mean the little new one? You mean Damien? He's like
Damien?
small.
You talking about? Did you never see when when they were drawing Robin regularly? He looks like a little muscular kid. Same thing. Aqualad. I mean, you can go down the line.
Depends on the artist,
look at X-Men. They were teens looking muscular. Same thing, dude. Okay. Look. When we talk about manga storylines are more consistent. Okay? We got consistency in the storylines from beginning to end. Okay? No changes in artists, no changing in storytellers, no story changes in inkers. We got it consistent. You know why? Because it's one creator.
It's a machine.
It's one
Because they
creator.
basically come in
No.
and they
One
say we're going to
creator.
have 3 million pages
One creator,
and they read it
and
like
they
this.
have an ending. And they have an ending. And they have an ending.
There's tons of endings with the comic books. What are
What
you
are you talking about?
I'm
Tons of
saying,
endings.
you mean,
Sequential,
well,
it
you're
keeps
talking about
going.
superhero comics. You got other independent comics that end.
We're just
that
talking
have
about
real,
we're talking about
Oh, you're
manga
saying
versus regular comic
oh.
books, right? We're not
Then-
talking about the independents where the
Then
independents.
we can say the same thing
the
about
independents
independents.
go on
There's
too.
tons
The
of
independents can
independence
go
for
on
manga
too.
Also, there's tons of independence. Manga's, I mean,
That end.
the Japanese
What-
manga
what-
that covers all
But they
facets
end.
of
Their
stuff.
storylines end. The storylines end.
So we're
And
saying
the comics end, or do they continue? Goku's gone on forever. That damn thing
Goku.
hasn't
What are you
died.
talking about? Didn't you hear that they're they're supposed to come to an end in 20?
What, 2029?
No. 20.
It's not anytime soon.
2018, 2017, something like that.
Yeah, I'll
the
believe
writer
it.
said
I'll
that
believe it.
it's ending. Yeah. He said no more not Goku. I'm talking about Naruto. Naruto's coming to an end.
Does it make a difference?
Yeah, Goku, all that has been ended. That's been done.
We're not interested in it.
I am.
Naruto,
I love manga.
Goku.
Love manga. Love the bookcasing of the thick storylines with what you
The
call
lack
it?
of color.
Lack of color.
The lack of
Love that
sharpness.
there's no color in there. You know why? Because you don't need it.
Well,
Oversaturation.
I think you're-
It doesn't help the story. No, it doesn't. It takes away from it. No, it doesn't. Because the black and white immerses you better into the story. Yes, it does.
Disagree. Totally
Immerses
disagree.
you better
Totally
into the
disagree.
story. When you got color splashes, all that good
You know, I
stuff,
think it's
it
because
takes
you-
away
because
takes
you know,
away
you-
from the
as
artistry.
your idea as an artist, you want to look at it. But you know,
Damn
most
right.
people then, why don't you watch black and white
That's
TV?
why
instead of color
manga.
TV?
That's
why
why
don't you watch black
that's
and
why
white TV?
manga
That's
is
what
like.
why do people watch
Is the
HGTV?
number
'Cause
one?
that's what they
What
want.
is it? What's the number one? What's the number one? What you call it?
In Japan?
In Japan.
It's different.
I just asked you a question. I
well,
just
that's
asked you
in
a question.
Japan and manga.
So, and it's now international. It's all over the place. Okay, it's a very it's a international product, manga, and the same thing with anime. Okay, can you say the same thing about American comic books?
Of course it's
What do you-
Really?
I-
Besides
I refer
the
to my man-
UK,
I refer to
besides
my
the
man-
United States and
I refer
France.
to my man Cal to inform you on that. Film the
Cal?
length
Formula of what?
of American comics.
He's talking about the appeal. Is it international?
It's two different things, man.
But it's international. They had it in the UK.
That's it,
You
UK.
know, France.
Manga.
That
Manga's
doesn't-
all over the place. United States, even the Caribbean. I mean, Brazil.
Even-
I mean,
That
anywhere.
doesn't mean
France.
that it's better. That
China.
doesn't mean that
I
it's better.
It is better.
No, it doesn't
You
mean
know why?
that it's better.
Because the pacing is faster.
Manga
The
isn't
stories
big-
are more immersive.
Manga isn't big in China.
Yes, it is.
No,
Manga is
comic
big
books
in
aren't
China.
big in China.
Yes, they are.
No, they're not.
Oh, yeah.
What? Yes,
Interesting.
they are.
Tell us
No, they're not. I live there. They're not.
Just because you live there doesn't mean that they were not. Check it out, dude. Google it. I've Googled it, son. And Google tells
Hey,
me.
you did not.
Yeah, I Googled it. I've Googled it.
You didn't.
Yes, I did Google it.
Comics are not big in China. They're very big in Hong Kong. With the rest of mainland China, they're not big. They're not.
No. Comics are big in China. The way the government runs it is that they try to limit the influx of foreign products. But comics are big in China. They are. Comic books in China have a long history, just like Japan. They have a lot. China has its own history of developing their storylines, but there is a long history of comic books in China as well.
They're not big.
They're big.
I didn't say you
I
don't
didn't
have
say they're the
comic books in-
dominant. I didn't say they're the
I didn't
dominant.
say you don't have comic books in China. I said they're
You
not
said they're not big.
in
They're not big,
China.
and I'm saying they are big. They're just not as dominant as
They're
they are
big
in
in China,
Japan.
but at the same time, the government's controlling how much of the influx is coming in.
Correct. They're not trying to. They want to limit how much of the foreign product is coming in because they keep wanting to push this national pride consistently. China's like that.
So what are the national Chinese comics then?
I don't know. I don't know because they don't get out.
They don't have any.
They're
do
not
have
big.
them.
They don't get out.
They're
they
not
do
big.
have them.
Comics are not. They're big in Hong Kong, yes. Japan, yes. Korea, yes, but not China.
They are big in China, but they're not the dominant. Reading material out there. They're not.
They're not
They're
the
not.
domi-
They're not. They're not.
They're not the
like.
dominant reading material anywhere.
Yes, they are in Japan. They are.
Comic books are the dominant reading material in Japan.
Okay, Mario Samuel Jackson, can you speak up on this, please? He knows as well as I do.
It's pretty prevalent.
It's
No.
this
Not
the-
manga. I'm talking about comic books in general, not manga.
Comic books are here, not necessarily there. And then
Comic
again,
books
it's
in
only for
France
superheroes.
is dominant. Is pretty strong.
Over a novel. People would rather read a comic book.
And where?
France.
No, that's not what I'm saying to you. I'm saying it's a dominant reading form. Just like in Japan, it's the number one reading form. Okay? That's all I'm saying. All I'm saying is that China has has their own dominant reading form. It's popular in China, but it's not the dominant one. That's what I'm saying. But it is popular, and maybe I'm using the wrong term as dominant, but it should be. It's the word I'm trying to say. It is popular. It's a popular medium because they have their own art form, and it coincides with how Japan does theirs. But it's not the dominant one. But it is a very popular one.
You go to Europe, you go to Japan, you go to these other countries, the whole perception of sequential art packaged the way it is totally different than we have in the States. So the comparison is never going to be the same. Comic books here have never gotten away from the fact that comic books were created for kids. Over there, to be honest, since comic books are created here, it's a totally different thing, and the art form is used totally different. You look at what Miller was doing with The Dark Knight Returns, especially in terms of the color and the sequencing. He brought all that stuff from the European comics. He even wanted the stuff from the European comics because he wanted that particular look and feel. Okay, but the perception of comics here has never changed because no other country had to go through seduction of the innocent. We went through that over here. Comics code, all of that other particular stuff. It's ingrained within the culture and across the psyche. It's not the same in Japan. It's not the same in Europe. It's not the same in the other places. So when you try to compare it, it's never going to come out the same. But they're still comics.
Why manga is better.
No. Well, how do you read manga the way they do? Where it's like they just pile through them, they spin, they go through. Do you read it like an American comic reader?
Well, no, I know what you're saying because the pacing of manga serials or stories are different. They use West wording, they use action, right? The pacing like movies would be. So when I look through a manga book, I like to see the entire storyline before. I don't like to see each chapter or each printing. I don't like to read it like that. I like to read it as they would do here as an omnibus or a trade. So it's collected, and I like to go through my book like that.
But do you slowly, like, do you?
Oh yeah, I like to look at the images. Yeah.
Oh, so I'm saying that's more of a New York. You still mean a American comic reader. You still you like the work, but you still in your mind are reading it like Frank Miller described it, like,
East, West.
Oh, look at this. I want to slow down on here. I like this. I like the way it developed to here. And I'm like the way where a splash page would be like, oh, we're stopping here for you to see this. And then we're moving again and we're going quick. So that's
giving
so you still like American comics.
I never said I didn't like it. We talked about
the dynamics.
What is better? What I like better, which is what pulled me away from American comics to begin with, which was that American comics, their storylines just kept becoming, repetitive, farcical, and I was just like, I was uninterested at that time. And so what a manga appealed to me was that their storylines it was much richer, deeper, as Cal mentioned. I mean, the seductive of the innocence and the way comic books are marketed towards children, where in Japan the manga is, you have a range. Of course we have that now with independence, but of course, during the time it's coming up, manga had that appeal in having much more mature storylines, but still keeping they could have a teenage perspective on this adult storyline, aka or hence Akira. That whole storyline is about World War III again, government corruption, government domination, but it's looked through the eyes of these teenage gangs. I mean, a lot of manga is done through that from the teenage perspective.
But you had all that stuff with comic books in the United States up until the point of seduction of the innocent. You had comic books that were geared for adults. You had comic books that were really, if you looked at the subject matter, it was gruesome, it was violent, it was mature, whatever you want to call it. Seduction of the innocent comes in and stops all of that.
I'm not saying you're wrong, but
no other
that's
country
not
comes in.
but what we have at this point.
But that predates manga.
Right, and he says what happens is that the readers that it was able to go out to and reach out weren't the same type of maturity.
I can't listen to you. Don't look at me with that hat, man. I can't look at you with that hat, man. Let me look over to the side or something.
You want the hat, then you don't want the hat. What do you want?
I like the hat, but I can't look at you seriously and as you're talking, man. I just keep thinking of Fat Albert and him looking like Rudy. That's what I keep looking at, man.
Well,
first you said Samuel L. Jackson.
But yeah, all of that is the same thing, man.
Well, wait a second. I was more thinking about the dynamics between the superheroes and the manga.
Okay.
What the dynamic of how the storytelling in American comics or that sort of storytelling with the splash page to, that sort of sequential art in comparison to manga? What do you like better in that sense? That's what I was more asking. You can read an independent story and be like, oh, I like this because it ends, or I can like the Sandman or something like that because it's a finished story. But what dynamically do you like better?
if I'm understanding you question correctly, and I just want to paraphrase, is that you're talking about how the story is written compared to how it's
Drawn,
done?
yeah, the
whole
page, the panel to panel, page to page storytelling.
Oh, I like mangas better. I like mangas better.
You do?
Yeah. Even though they don't intentionally try to do this, their pacing is much more theatrical. And of course, comic books are trying to adapt to that quality now.
Well, are they? I mean, they're using the styles, but I don't think they're getting that speed in there.
They're
where
not.
you sorta-
Which I like about American comic books, which is that, and this comes back to the whole X-Men and Chris Claremont and the whole dialogue over action. And when with American comic books, when you have action, there's dialogue. People are still talking. And there's Spider-Man is, punching somebody out. It's not like there's an action. They'll be saying something important while they're punching somebody out, which paces the movie because they're talking about more condensed form.
Down, yeah.
So, but in manga, they leave out that dialogue because action is action. Most likely a person is not going to be talking as they're throwing a punch. Right?
That's a Stan Lee thing, but it is a good point.
Right?
Yeah.
So they try to adapt it as a more realistic approach and a theatrical approach, which is cool. But anytime I see pages like that, I always say I can get some introspective here, even though it is they're doing it. What's the term? They got condensed and, for lack of a word, uncondensed. I forgot the
Decompressed.
Decompressed. Thank you. Decompressed format where they'll show every little bit. It's not just I'm running here and I get to here. They'll show the running and running through the scene, and maybe they'll go through this water, or maybe they'll show the journey, which I like. But I would love to have some dialogue and some introspection at that point to give me some more of the character's thoughts or another person's thoughts at the time that they're doing it.
So that means you like American? No.
To me,
it's a mix.
It's a mix. For me, it's East. It could be an East meets West at that point. But comic books does it well. I like that when they're throwing a punch and somebody's talking. And, we understand the reason why he's throwing this punch. And to me, the comic books feel fuller to me. With manga, you get more pictures than words, even though the story is much more entailed or detailed, I should say.
Over a time period.
Over a time period,
Not
yes.
over one.
But they pace it out for one issue. You'll get so much more in one comic book, 22 pages, where manga is published, 18 pages, I think? 18 or 16, something like that. There's less dialogue. The pacing is what's moving the story on. And although I appreciate it and I like it because it's a lot theatrical, I appreciate the condensed version of what comics can do in that portion. If there was a way somebody could bring some of that into the manga area.
Get Stan Lee or Chris Claremont to sort of fill up those pages.
Yeah,
block some of the art with
because
the
American
dialogue.
American culture, we're a culture of reading. We like to read. We're a culture of reading. So our comic books do the same thing. We're embedded into the story, so we're reading. Whereas, I would think for a Western audience, it's a lot visual. So it's the pacing of it. And so even though it's the pacing of it, I would still like to be immersed in. Although the scenery, the images look great, I would love for the written word to bring out what I'm seeing there. I would love that.
Okay.
If it could just do that a little bit. But anyway. Yes, Sam. Yes, Sam.
That
was really good.
Again, so what do we take away from that? I kind of
that he likes American comics better than
He likes manga better than American comics.
But he likes both.
I like them both, but I like manga better.
A little bit better.
No, not a little better. A lot
But he
better.
wants some dialogue in the manga.
Yeah, some dialogue in manga, but I like manga's pacing.
Probably
much
because
better.
you're not so deep. That's the problem. It's probably you want something so superficial that you can go through it real quick. So he hasn't disagreed, so I guess I'm on the right track. Okay.
I wouldn't say that. I mean, you got some really good.
Wait, you agree with him? What
No, I don't think they're superficial. I just think they're one part of the large whole. That's it. I mean, Lone Wolf and Cub was anything but superficial, even though Lone Wolf and Cub had a whole bunch of repetitive. Had a whole bunch of repetitive stuff that just kept coming in
right
there
about that.
because the story was so bloody long at the end of the day. Was it enjoyable? Yes, but you could have cut it.
So long.
No, it didn't need to be that
That's
long.
what I'm saying. That story could have been cut by 2/3.
But in the same breath, I could say with American comics, do they really need to be so freaking decompressed? No. Okay, do you really need 6 issues to tell this story? No. It's something that it's not an either or thing. But
then sometimes I feel in manga I get the exact same frame that I saw but just a couple of comics ago.
Well, there's just so many different perspectives you can draw, man.
I mean, literally the fight scene. Sometimes like I swear they just cut it out and threw it back in.
Oh, you.
Probably
Well,
picked
if
up
you
an
read
arm.
stuff like Bleach, then yeah. But again, it's like Petey said, it's a machine. You've got to crank out this product. That's got to be out there. So of course, you know, that's you are going to see that. You know, that's going to happen. It's not like with an American comic where okay, compression was what we really wanted because we had a limit of what 20, 30, whatever pages it may have been. I just see them as I just don't see them as very different. If you know the history behind them, it's very easy to understand why this one did this, why this one did that, and you just enjoy them. You know, the bottom line is as long as they're good, at least for me, then fine. You know, I don't have too much of a big issue. It's not an either or thing. That's at least been my approach to it. It's not like one is open it up and it's like the images are actually moving for me, you know, and they're playing music and they like spritting out water so I can get like a 4D feel or something.
I got a question for you. What's the last manga that you read?
Bleach.
When was that?
Bleach wrapped up 2011.
Oh, okay. That was it. I just wanted to know what the last manga he wrote.
I mean, I tend to find a lot of younger kids like the manga because it's easier to approach. Like you said before, it's not quite as detailed.
It's a cartoon.
Right, but I'm saying it's quicker and easier to get in. There's not a lot of dialogue. They go straight into it and they can get what's going on. Whereas opposed to comic books, there's like a serious back history, you know, of what's happening and where things are going. So that's why I think they tend to like
stuff like Bleach. Bleach ran for a really damn long time, and then stuff like Naruto that ran for a really long time. But then you would have stuff you would step into. Any of the stuff that was option for films like Battle Royale. If you read that, you know that's not something that you would actually. That's not something you would give a kid anytime soon. Okay, and what was the other one? Attack on Titan. Wouldn't give a kid, you know, any of those either. Okay, but you can still tap. Well, you can still tap into them. But that's the one thing that manga does that American comics, even with this whole indie stuff, they aren't really ever going to get over it. The bottom line is their comic books are just about every age within. When I was in Japan,
hold on a second.
everybody read comics.
But wasn't
kids.
Battle Royale targeted towards kids? I mean, I thought it was.
Are you kidding me? No.
I mean, it's about kids fighting kids.
Dude, no. No, did you read some of the stuff that happened? Totally viscerations and stuff?
Yeah,
no, that's not for kids.
Saying, I don't know. I find now a lot of the current wave of Hunger Games is based somewhat. I don't know if the author ever read it, but you know, you're like, wow, read this years ago. You know what I'm trying to say? Is this what they're doing now? Of course, American audience are not going to go for it. I don't know. Japanese audience would have been a little bit different. Would have said, hey, this is okay. You know, our kids can handle this as opposed to.
No, there are comics for kids. Okay, you even have manga for kids. You have manga for teenagers. You have manga for grown people. You have manga for senior citizens.
I get that, you know, but I'm saying I don't know who that. I don't know. I had the impression this was the same crew that they were going after something like.
If you're a kid and nobody's supervising you, you can get your hands on a copy of Battle Royale. You can read it.
You know what? Probably we need to do. What kids are we talking about? Teenagers or little kids? Because right now they play PlayStation and they're playing GTA. That's something they're going to read. You know what I'm trying to say? If you're talking about a 5 or 6 year old kid, yeah. And this is not the audience we're talking about for manga. We're talking about teenagers, roughly, right?
But those are the kids
talking about 13, 12,
and those are the kids who are going to read Battle Royale.
Those particular stories, okay, are geared towards that particular audience. That's fine.
But that's what we're talking about. Am I missing something?
No.
Yeah.
You know what I'm trying to say? Because when you say it's that's what those.
It's like Akira. Akira has the same type of idea. I mean, it's about kids, but I've seen teenagers are getting into it as well. I mean, it's the same thing. I mean,
we got into it.
Akira was look. I think maybe you have this whole American mindset when it comes to a kid. I'm not talking about a 6-year-old or 7-year-old or something of that nature. Okay. When I'm saying kid, I'm still saying somebody who's underage. Okay, you're not 21 or anything of that nature. Still within that time frame. These are the same kids, 14, 15-year-olds. Okay, who are big, but they'll still run to a playground over here to get on a kiddie swing.
But these same kids who are playing GTA. These same kids who are playing
Grand Theft Auto.
I'm not talking about knee highs here. I'm not talking about waist highs.
But
I'm not talking about those.
This is the audience for that particular type of thing.
Not that book. Okay, not Battle Royale. Battle Royale.
I've never read Battle Royale, but if it's anything like Akira, where you had evisceration.
Battle Royale was not aimed at an 8-year-old.
I mean, Bleach has the same thing.
I'm talking about teenagers. I'm saying this aimed at
teenagers. But that's teenagers.
That's what we're talking about. Those are the main purchasers, used to be, of comic books. We're not talking manga. We're not talking about little kids who are reading Archies. And we're talking
What's interesting about manga, though, manga has a wide range of their readers. I mean, you have adults from kids still reading the same mangas, you know, that they're getting into. You take to pick anyone, you could say Bleach or Full Metal Alchemist or Attack on Titans, you'll have an adult who's reading it just as you'll have a teenager reading it as well. Unlike American comic books, and I think Cal was mentioning this before, I mean, the way it's marketed, I think the appeal is that they're thinking that it's still for, only for teens or
Are
young
you
adults.
serious? Have you seen the numbers on who the market is? Most of the people who are reading comics are much older. They're not kids.
Yeah.
And the people.
I'm
who are
just talking
trying
about the perception.
All of them. All of them.
And have you seen who the authors are? If you look at the artists and the writers, I mean, they have a particular worldview of what it is. I agree. The problem is just that it just hasn't exploded like
No,
Cal
that's
said.
I got that I would disagree with.
I disagree because you know what? Like in some countries, a newspaper. I think I remember reading something about Brazil where newspaper readership is very low, but TV is very high. I mean, that could be.
So what, you're waiting for newspaper readership to explode?
I'm just saying different forms work different with different groups in different countries.
You've already had three. The major comic book, the major idea of a comic book in the United States, okay, is what? A superhero. You've already had 3 periods where superheroes have taken over the public consciousness, and then they always recede right back into the comic books and those particular fans of it. It's just not something. It's just not something that people, for whatever reason, hear. It's like when you go to Europe and everybody pays in coins for $1 or for $2. Here we have dollar coins. Nobody uses them. Everybody wants paper money for some reason. As much as they keep trying to push it, people keep pushing back on the whole thing. I can't explain it to you 100%, okay? But that's just seemed to be the lockstep that happens right over here. So I don't ever see it breaking out of that, especially since these characters were created for kids. These are grown people running around in colorful outfits. They were created for kids. You can't make sense of that to an adult. It doesn't make any sense.
Well, you know what? I do see the cult. I do see it changing, and it's going to take a while. I remember I mentioned this to you a while, way back, and we were talking about the same thing. But it's those same kids who are growing up enjoying manga or comic books now, same like us who are the majority popular readers and trying to get their children into it, are going to be the consumers of the comic books of for the future. And the culture will change as more and more of you see superheroes in the movies, dominating movies, TV. Hopefully there will be a pipeline, video games, and bringing that pipeline back into comic books.
Do you still read comic books?
No, he doesn't.
Okay.
I do once in a while.
That's QED.
No, he doesn't.
Do you read manga?
No, he
It's a
doesn't.
comic book.
Neither.
No.
Really? You're the one who got me into manga.
I know, but I haven't found anything as good as of late.
What was the last manga that you read?
Battle Royale.
Oh, wow.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
After the Hunger Games.
Oh, wow. Okay.
I was very surprised. I was like, whoa, this is... I didn't expect it.
Wow.
But it wasn't bad.
Okay.
But then I remember that one of the kids that I was dealing with before was like, yo, he was telling me this years ago. This was a good comic. And he actually learned Japanese to be able to read it. Which I thought
The original, yeah.
It was a
I've heard
nutcase.
that legendary story many.
Yeah. No. When we were back in school, he was in college. It was like there was a whole club of these guys.
Yeah.
They wanted to go.
Mangaka's are big, man.
They
I
were
mean,
huge.
you got a lot of
I
people
said,
who are
"These guys
into that.
nutcases."
I went to Japan for baseball.
I said these guys are nuts.
But there's a lot. That's a huge.
But
I
there was
mean,
a
just you got Comic-Con markets, and you have the anime manga conventions, which is huge.
Much bigger than the stuff we do here.
Huge. But I'm talking about in the United States alone, they have like tons of them that happen in like so many different states. I'm just like, whoa, this thing is phenomenal. It's a phenomenon.
The guys in Japan, the manga, those guys are like movie stars. Literally, they can be walking down the street, get mobbed by people.
Yeah.
Right? Again, culturally, just very different.
Cosplay comes
Very
from
different.
that. Cosplay
That's
comes
where it
from.
comes from.
Yeah,
Yeah,
cosplay
very
is
real.
coming from the manga and the
Makes
animes.
perfect-
Yeah.
makes perfect sense.
Yeah, because that's how big it is. I mean, shucks. Have you seen any footage of the Japan's
Never. Never
Oh,
seen it.
They have to have. This is crazy. They have to have people directing traffic. You can't come. There's like a group of they block it off in groups of traffic. So everybody has to move in this one particular way, and then they block it like stoplights, and then the next group go. It's bananas. Bananas.
Wow.
That's how huge it is out there.
Yeah, they don't even do that.
Huge.
Yeah,
It's
they
not
don't-
even huge.
SDCC
Like Trump
doesn't even have to do that.
huge. It's huge. Like Trump huge.
Ladies and gentlemen, once again, thank you for joining us here with Spinner Rack. We've had a pretty informative session here. Shockingly, did learn a little from both sides. But thank you. Yeah, shocking. Whenever you explain something. it's
Manga
shocking.
la 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 la
Oh,
la.
I think we're gonna finish.
Okay, I wear my cap. He has to wear a cap.